morning everyone, I'm Vanessa and today I'm coming to you from Classroom Secrets Live with two activities that you could use with your child or children. They are pitched at a Year 3 level. However, the content of these activities can easily be tweaked to suit a variety of learners. Now, I have picked these two activities today for several reasons. Number one, they require minimal setup, so they require very few resources on your part, especially if you use the templates that Classroom Secrets provide. Secondly, as I've already alluded to, the content of the activities can be tweaked, it can be simplified, or it can be extended to add a bit of challenge quite easily. So, for example, you could tweak the activities for a Year 4 class or for some Year 4 children. And thirdly, I really do believe that these activities will promote fun and engaging learning, whilst children might not even realise they are actually taking part in adding fractions. So without further ado, I am going to start by showing you the first activity. So on my whiteboard, I am going to start by showing you my first activity, which is a take on the classic bingo game. For this activity, you will need 16 flashcards, and each flashcard shows a fraction. Now, because these activities are pitched at a Year 3 level, I would recommend, when we add the fractions, staying within the whole. I would also emphasise that we are only adding fractions that have the same denominator. Therefore, this game is played by one child picking up a fraction flashcard and working out the fraction that is shaded of that shape. For example, here we have 4/12, and then child B can pick up another flashcard and they can see 1/3 of this rectangle has been shaded. Now, because their denominators do not match, I would encourage the child to keep one and put one of the others at the bottom of the pile. So we are waiting to find two fractions that have the same denominator. So this one, again, you can still see it has 12 equal parts, and this one has 3. Also notice how the representations are different. I think it's really beneficial to show children fractions in a variety of ways rather than just using the standard fraction presentation. So in my game I have used images, words, and also the typical numeral format. So again, I would have a go. So my next fraction is 2/3, keep getting thirds, but I'm looking for one that has a denominator of 12 ideally. 2/8. This time I'm going to put this one at the bottom as it's not bringing me much luck so far, but I'm sure when you play it, it will be much more successful. 4/5 and 2/8, again, I cannot add these two because their denominators are different. So my next one is 1/6. Again, I'm going to put this one at the bottom of the pile and then reveal this fraction. Again, they are not matching, so I'm going to put this at the bottom. Now I have 3/4 and 8/10, again, not matching. I do promise there are some fractions in here that do match. This one shows 1/5, so we're getting closer, but still not quite there. So you could see that this game could go on for quite some time to entertain your children. 7/12, if only I had kept that those 12s from the beginning. Let's carry on. Oh, excellent. So here I have 2/12 and 7/12. They're both in the same format too, which makes things very straightforward. And we would remind children that the denominator stays the same when we add fractions with the same denominator. Then we add the numerators. 2 add 7 makes 9. So then that child would scour the bingo board and look for 9/12. this is the second part of the game, if you like. Having a glance, unfortunately, I don't think I can see 9/12 exactly on there, so we're going to carry on. However, that is good reinforcement of adding fractions. So let's try another one. 3/8. Add, ooh, might be lucky here, might be on a roll. So 3/8 plus 6/8, can write that above, equals 9/8. However, I'm glad this has come up because at this point we could have a discussion about this being larger than a whole, and because we are pitching this at year 3, as I said at the beginning, I would advise staying within the whole. So you can see that the maximum quantity on my bingo board is actually 1 whole. I'll have a third go. We'll see if we can find one that we can actually cross off. So here we have 1/3 plus 2/3. Again, the denominator stays the same. 1 add 2 is 3. So here you could have the discussion about this is equivalent to 1 whole. Then you look at the bingo board, and actually there are quite a few options that you could choose from here, because I have a whole here, I have 1 whole written in words here, I also have 9/9, which is technically a whole, but then you could explain to the children that we are looking for 3/3 in this particular case. So you could even encourage your child to use some tactical mathematics. Depending on where they're other ones that have been crossed out, they might choose this one or they might choose this one. So it's quite open in that way. So then player 1 would maybe cross 1 out and the game would continue. I think you've got the idea of this game by now, so if you could bear with me, I am going to switch over to my second activity, which is also about adding fractions with the same denominator. Just going to clean this quickly. So for this second activity, we are going to use a spinner. Now, I must apologise from the outset, this spinner has been printed on paper, so the spinning ability isn't great, but you will hopefully get the idea from the game itself. So, the spinner is used to determine my denominator. So a child would spin the spinner, and say they land on 9, this would be their denominator. Now their mission for this activity is to come up with as many addition statements using this denominator in a time limit. So let's have a practice first before we start. So they could say, for example, 1/9 and 3/9 equals 4/9. Introduce the time element to inject a bit of competition. So I could put 1 minute. I'm going to just enter a minute on here just to demonstrate and see how many I could maybe do. Again, they could use words to do this, which might take longer. They could use images if they want. So we'll just have a go at this in a second. So I've spun my spinner and it's landed on 8. So I now need to come up with as many as I can. Doesn't have to equal the whole, remember. 3/8 plus 2/8 equals 5/8. 3/8 plus 2, just on that one, 3 add 1/8 equals 4/8. Why don't we have 6/8 plus 1/8 equals 7/8? Now I'm going quite quick, so why don't I use additions that have 3 fractions just to make it that little bit harder? So 5/8 add 1/8 add 1/8 equals 7/8. Got 19 seconds left. 3/8 plus 1/8 plus 2/8 equals 6/8. Remember, keeping that whole. 1/8 plus 1/8 plus 4/8 equals 6/8. And there we go. So I wonder I achieved 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 there, but I did change between having 2 fractions and 3 fractions. Why not challenge your child? This is a game they can play individually, and they can try and beat me, or they can try and beat yourself. I'm sure they would rise to the challenge. There we have my 2 suggested activities for adding fractions. I hope you found them useful. I hope you managed to use them yourself. That would be so lovely to see. If you do intend to use them yourself, or you recommend them to a friend or someone, it would be lovely for you to drop a comment below just so we can see that they have been useful. Have a lovely afternoon, everyone. Thanks for watching.